Thanks for the introduction, Laura. Thanks everybody for having me tonight. I do know a couple of you personally. For everybody to whom I have not introduced myself properly yet, my name is Benjamin. And when I was a kid, I always used to fall onto my head. You know, the other kids would fall down and break an arm or a leg. That was fine because you would get a cask and everybody could sign on it and you were the coolest. I was the little knobhead with a piece of Band-Aid around my head all the time. So also in the summer of '96, summer vacation to be more accurate, this was pretty much the German dream. Campground at the Bodensee, 5 families with roughly 50 kids all about the same age. And the campground had one of these swings on it. You know, these massive ones with a tire underneath it? I'm sure we've all been sitting in one of these at one point of our life. I was always the youngest, so I didn't get to sit in it. I had to stand behind it and push while the other kids were having fun. So I was standing there and pushing, and pushing, and pushing, and somebody behind me called my name. I turn around, the swing comes back and sends me flying. And straight like a rocket, my head finds the way to this one solid wooden pole standing right behind me, and it knocks me out cold, basically. So next morning, hospital at the Bodensee, a sterile white room with a hospital bed in it, and me, of course. And the door opens, and in comes Susan. Well, Susan is a nurse. Susan is pretty. I am close to puberty. And Susan says, Benjamin, I've just been handing out breakfast on the entire floor. I know you ordered a cup of tea, but all that I have left here right now is a cup of coffee. Would you mind, or I can go back down and pick up, and there's no problem. You know, I drink coffee all the time. I hadn't even smelled a cup of coffee at that time of my life, but well, you know, Susan was hot, so what are you gonna do, right? So there she stood. Deep, dark, black, smoking hot, my first cup of coffee ever. Does anybody in here remember his first coffee he ever had? Do we have anybody in here? Yeah? How was it? How was your first coffee?
Strong.
Strong? Did you like the taste?
Not really.
Not really?
Not really. Well, to be honest, more the cappuccino.
Fair enough.
Soft entry.
Soft entry. You know, I went in all the way. I had a black coffee in front of me, and my first coffee I ever had, that was really nasty, actually. There was nothing good in that. It took me half a sugar to gulp it down, but nevertheless, almost 22 years later, I stand here as one of the co-founders of a small, Munich-based, innovation-driven coffee company that has taken on the task of providing first quality coffee, skillfully roasted and transparently sourced to pretty much everybody. But why, really? I mean, what happened? Well, on the one hand side, I figured out that not every cup of coffee tastes like hospital coffee, and that's a pretty solid learning right there. On top of that, I figured out that coffee does a couple of pretty cool things with me that I can use for myself. Or in other words, I found a reason why I want to drink coffee, why I want to get involved. Why do you guys drink coffee? Do you like the taste? Does it wake you up in the morning? Yes. Or is it maybe that it is the easiest way to bond with people if you simply walk up to them and say, hey, would you like to grab a cup of coffee with me? Which basically says, would you like to have a conversation in a less socially awkward way? You know, coffee does that. It connects people. Maybe that's one of the reasons why 90% of the Germans drink it. Yet we know very little about it, actually. But let's take it for a fact for now that coffee does a couple of cool things. As a product, it has a bunch of inherent weaknesses that just come with it. And most of them are rooted in the fact that coffee only grows in a specific geological area. They call it the coffee bean belt. It goes once around the globe and covers a lot of beautiful countries. Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Indonesia, you name it. But it also means that each and every single bean that we consume in Germany has traveled halfway around the globe before it reaches us. That is a process that takes quite a lot of time because coffee travels by ship. It's a process that is pretty hard to see through and even harder to show in a transparent way. And it's a process that adds significant cost due to import, due to bureaucracy and sheer logistics. And as maxed out as logistics nowadays are, it's a lot easier to save money on bean quality than on the logistics side of things. We as Germans, we are known for a bunch of things worldwide that apparently we do pretty good. Cars, for instance, right? We got that. Our appreciation for quality food and beverages, though, it's not so much what we are known for, right? It's easy to see. Take your car and drive a couple of hours south from here. You end up in countries like Italy, Spain, France, Portugal, if you drive long enough. Are these countries in a better economical shape than we are? I doubt it. But have you tried to go grocery shopping down there? You see, the appreciation in a society for a specific product shows in the ratio of the monthly income that the people in the society are willing to spend on this product. We Germans, we consume in a different way. We are very price-driven, at least when it comes to food and beverages. You know that typical German picture? The Weber grill in the garden, but the Jahr sausage is on it. In Germany, what happened basically since World War II is that 5 major companies have tried to gain market share in the coffee market by beating each other up on price. And that has gradually decreased the price and gradually decreased the quality of coffee that we get here. Also of the green beans that we get here. That's easy to understand. If I'm a coffee farmer in Peru, where do I sell my grade A quality beans to? Probably not to a country from which I don't receive an appropriate monetary appreciation for the product that I'm producing. And that has led to pretty low quality, at least in the wide range of the industrial roasted coffees, and a pretty bad image that we have of coffee. We've all been confronted with it. You all know it. I mean, coffee is bad for your health. It raises your blood pressure and your heart rate. It's very bad for your digestion system because it adds a lot of acidity. So basically, don't even drink it. It's in the same corner as alcohol and cigarettes. Just don't. That's easy to understand if we realize that we compare lowest quality coffee beans with lowest quality coffee beans to derive an overall assumption about this product. And that's a pretty one-sided way of looking at things, and not entirely true or fair either. It has been proven in the meantime that coffee has a couple of pretty good effects. You can use it in your diet. You can use it in sports. It has been proven that it does not add to your acidity level because the chlorogenic acid that's in the coffee can be reduced by a process called slow drum roasting, which is unfortunately not very conform to the industrial way of producing because it takes time. And it has also been shown that a regular coffee consumption reduces the risk of diseases like cancer, Alzheimer, and others. It's pretty cool stuff, actually. But let's take a step back. I mean, you stand in the supermarket and you have like 50 different brands of coffee that you can choose from. So what are you actually looking for? What coffee is going to be good quality? What coffee is fresh? Which coffee will meet your expectations taste-wise and from an ethical point of view and everything else? It's pretty hard to understand that. What am I really looking for? So here's an idea, a vision if you will. Imagine you stand in front of the supermarket or in the supermarket and you see these 50 different brands of coffee. And you can check the entire history of each and every bag. When was it roasted? How was it roasted? When was it even imported and farmed? Which country does it from? Is it organically farmed? Is it ethically sourced? And so on. With a glimpse onto a device that you have in your pocket all the time, which is your smartphone. You grab a package of coffee, you scan a QR code, and you get the entire history of this specific batch of coffee that you're about to purchase. Now that's a vision for now. And we believe that it's a vision worth pursuing. It already works for a lot of products. You can track every egg that you buy in the supermarket down to the very farm where it comes from. Agreed, that is an easy one because usually these farms are within Germany or within an arm's reach at least. Coffee travels a lot longer though, and that makes the process pretty hard to understand. Nevertheless, we are tackling this project right now, and let me clue you in real quick how we intend to do this. It's 3 steps basically. Step number 1, create an awareness. I said it in the beginning, we as Germans drink a lot of coffee, more than 160 liters per person per year in average. That's huge. Only the Scandinavians top us when it comes to that. But we know very little about this. So creating an awareness is an important part, and we do that. We've been doing that for the past 10 minutes, but we as the Munich Coffee Roastery have been doing it for the past 2 years roughly, by holding seminars, by talking to people. We're using technology nowadays to do that in a much more efficient way. How about having your next cup of coffee shoulder to shoulder with a coffee farmer in Peru? VR makes it possible. The human brain is pretty easy to trick, and the experience that you make when I put you in place, regardless if it's virtual or real, that grasps a lot deeper than if I just tell you about it. So that's nice for creating an awareness. Step number 2. Gather consistently quality-relevant data, objectively, about this specific coffee that you're about to purchase. The technology is already available. We have sensors available that consistently track the variation in bean color and size, still in the country where it is farmed and processed. And that will allow me to derive an assumption about the quality that I can expect as a roaster. And step number 3, we want to gather this entire information, store it in a database, and provide it to every user or every consumer that buys our coffee here in Germany. Why? Well, nowadays you have to trust big platforms a lot. Amazon is huge, but you need to trust what they're telling you, don't you? We want to enable each and every consumer to take a look into objective data, regardless of what I'm telling you. Check it out yourself. You don't have to travel there or provide my entire set of data to you right there on the spot. Now, there's one tricky thing about this. Coffee is an internationally traded good, one of the most important trading goods right after oil. And the monetary interest behind this is huge. So if I provide that quality relevant data, which has an impact on price, of course, I will have to face the idea that people will try to fraud a system like this. Now, there's a technology out there nowadays which helps us to pass this problem, this issue. And it's a decentralized database. A blockchain, if you will. Now, I know that a lot of you guys go like, blockchain, cool. Crypto is the next thing, isn't it? Let me tell you in the remaining minute why blockchain is important for us in that context. Point number one, it's comparably fraud-proof to other databases. That is important due to the monetary interest. Point number two, I can access the entire data set that's stored in there on demand worldwide, pretty much instantaneously. And point number three, I can basically use this data to, or build up this database regardless of somebody else who's taking note and who's writing this down by himself. I can store the information in there automatically and provide it whenever you need it. So, as I said, the overall idea is to basically enable each and every consumer to check out this information by himself. It's a vision that we're driving right now together with a university in Paris. And we're talking to a lot of major companies. The interest is huge because the problem is not unique to coffee. Every product that travels worldwide has the same problem of transparency. And we create a use case that uses state-of-the-art technology to tackle a real problem. So if you want to know more about this, talk to me. Thanks.